got two here. Yeah, okay. Okay, I have a few more to do. So the next certificate of Grammy recognition for Best Reggae, the album, first one, the album was Rise and Shine. The artist was Jazzwad, and it was the 37th Grammy Awards in 1995. Also, for the album Freedom of Speech, the artist was Yellow Man, and it was the 40th Grammy Awards in 1998. And the certificate of Grammy recognition goes to Jazzwad.
All original article you me and talk to, Lord of His mercy. Yeah, man, watch this, man, remember, man. You look and tell him, say, come in, that's one.
So before, there you go, Jazzy, there you go. So before Jazzy speaks, time is really, really running. I did have a nice little conversation to have with Jazzwad, but let me just be really brief and say that this gentleman is a cornerstone of dancehall, because without him, we don't know if Bounty Killer starts a record label called Scare Them Records. We don't know if he starts that. If he doesn't start that, we don't know if we have Scare Them crew. If we don't have the Scare Them crew, we may not have had Harry Toddler, Nitty Kochi, Elephant Man. Talent will always come true, so they would have probably bust, but we don't know how that conversation goes. So if we didn't have Scare Them, then we didn't have Alliance. If we didn't have Alliance, we don't know how it would have gone with Mavado, Vibes Cartel, Idonia. Then we don't know how it would have gone with people like Popcorn. So this is a true cornerstone of dancehall. And let me finish. So we have two more certificates for Jazzwad tonight. So for the album No Holding Back by Wayne Wonder from the 46th Grammy Awards of 2004. Also for the album Upside Down 2020, artist Buju Banton from the 63rd Grammy Awards in 2021. We are proud to present to this cornerstone here, Mr. Paul Yeboah, AKA Jazzwad.
Gentlemen. Blessings, my brother. Good evening, everyone. Give thanks that you are sounding still lively after this long ceremony that's going on right now. And I want to big up the Almighty God, the Almighty, whatever you call him, we give thanks to him. Then I want to give thanks to, can I just raise this, because I don't want to lean over like an old man, you know. Yeah, then I want to give thanks to my mama Lorna that birthed me. She's here tonight. So I give thanks to my mother Lorna, my auntie Leni is here as well, her sister. And right away I want to big up my father Warren, who's maybe at home right now. He's slightly ill, so if we can give a prayers to him when you get the chance. Big up my father Warren Yeboah. Yeboah, you know that name? So my mother and her sister actually were born in Trenchtown, Jamaica. And they grew up in what they call a tenement yard in 5th Street. Is it 5th Street or 4th Street? Okay. In Trenchtown, they grew up in a yard, a tenement yard, in the same yard where you had a Rasta man called Mortimer Plano. Now, for those who know, Mortimer Plano was very influential in teaching Bob Marley about Rastafari. And it so happened that one day, Mortimer Plano was walking around the yard with some hot water, and the water was kind of spilled out of the bucket, and my mom was in the same area, and it caught her leg. So she has a scar from Mortimer Plano on her leg, unfortunately. So anytime I talk about Rastafari and certain things, and I bring up his name, she kind of like give me a certain look that I maybe shouldn't call that name, but they grew up in Trenchtown, same era as Bob Marley, Alton Ellis, and all the many legends that fought from Jamaica. And then my father now, he was born in London, but his father, Mr. Edward Yeboah, was born in Ghana. And my grandfather flew from Ghana in the 50s, And when he got to the UK, I guess he met my dad's mom, and then my mom and my father met, and then here I am today. So my grandfather, Mr. Edward Yeboah, when he got to London, he started to build amplifiers, and he was a technician. So while building amplifiers and stuff, he actually built the first amplifier for the first sound system in the UK, in Europe. And that sound was called Drukvin, for those who know. So I've been to many seminars and things about sound system culture and the music, and sometimes they overlook my grandfather's name, or maybe his name is never mentioned. And I remember I was at an event the other day, and they was talking, same setup like this, and they was talking about everybody that played a part in sound system culture, and they never mentioned his name. And I sat there, and in the seat, I was saying, you cannot sit there and don't say something about your grandfather. So I jump up. I said, my grandfather, he's the man that built the first sound system in the UK, and everybody looked around. And I'm glad that I gave him his flowers there and then, because sometimes as they say, a man is not recognized in his own country and he's recognized elsewhere. Even though he was born in Ghana, I would have loved to know that he was recognized in his country for what he done, because being the man that built sound system and building amplifiers for the first sound system in the UK, and look at where sound system culture is today, where they have all these clashes and these big festivals and stuff, and he built it first in Ashmore Road, which is not far from here, off the Harrow Road. So big respect to my grandfather, Mr. Edward Yeboah. And then my father now, he was also a promoter, used to keep shows and concerts. So most of the artists that used to return from Jamaica to the UK, he'd maybe make a contact to them and put on shows with them. One of those artists was Dennis Brown. When Dennis Brown reached to London, my father put on a show with him in a club called the Zigzag Club, which is in Westbourne Park. Then my daddy put on a show with Steel Pulse as well. So at that time, my dad was up and down with Dennis Brown all the while, until eventually became like a road manager to Dennis Brown and travel the world. But then I say all of this to say that I give thanks to my parents for actually allowing me to be around that environment, although I didn't maybe realize that I was around it from my grandfather, because my mother also, she used to work at a record label called Grove Music. Now, Grove Music is, again, along this same Marylebone Road. You go straight up, and it leads to the Harrow Road. That's where Grove Music was. And Grove Music was a music distributor. So every music that come from Jamaica, Yabby U, Michael Prophet, Judy Mowat, Freddie McGregor, they used to release the music here in London, and my mother used to work there. So at the same time, again, as a little youth, maybe not in my mind, I didn't really know, but I was always around the music. So Grove Music was a home to Jazzwad. So now that's the kind of where the connection of where my name reaches from, Jazzwad to Jazzwad, because they was my favorite group. And they used to rehearse in my godmother's spare room off the Harrow Road as well. So I got to see Jazzwad rehearse all the time, and I got into playing the drums, and drumming became my passion. So even in nursery school, I used to beat the drums and the pots and pans here, and they would allow me to bring those drums home every weekend. Till finally, my mother, she got annoyed. I don't want to say annoyed, but the bang, bang, banging in the house, like, one of the days she said, leave them at the nursery, you cannot bring them. And then she maybe see I was like upset, so she said, all right, she's gonna get me my own little miniature drum kit. And I started to beat in the house and make noise as usual. So then eventually, at that time, while watching Jazzwad and them rehearsing, I got more and more into music. And then it was around maybe when I was about 10, my father was driving along Kilburn High Road and he drove past a shop called the Blanks, where they sold drum kits and instruments and stuff like that. So he called my mom and said, I see a drum kit and I want to buy it for him. So at that time, the money wasn't so great, I guess. So I think he was calling her to ask her for a little makeup and a little change to help him get it, which she did. So she said, come and get the money and we can make up and buy the kid a drum kit. So my dad buy the drum kit, and when he reached home, he don't know how to set up a drum kit. So what he done is he went down to the front line, All Saints Road in Labatt Grove, to find Drummy Zeb. So he went down there and he found Drummy Zeb, brought Drummy to my house in Queen's Park, and Drummy set up the drum kit. So when I reached home from school that day, I was about 9 or 10, my father said, go into the room and see what's in there. So when I pushed the door and look, there was this big white pearl drum kit set up in the room. So then he pointed to the wall and he showed me a Polaroid picture, because you know you could take Polaroid, it come out instantly. And there was Drummy Zeb behind the drum kit with a picture on my wall of Drummy Zeb. Is somebody who I look up to as a kid wanting to play music. So he was there. Now I got more and more into playing instruments. And even around that time, I used to, sometime when I should have been in school, when I went to secondary school, sometime I kind of drifted away from class, which I shouldn't have done, and maybe my mom never know. But sometime when I was meant to be in the class, I would end up at different studios. Now, I would always find different studios, and I would find out where the musicians are and where they was rehearsing or where they're recording and stuff like that. And round about this time, I'm getting more into like the Black Uhuru, because my parents have to big them up all the time. They brought me to Black Uhuru's first concert in London, which was around 1980. And that's when they had the Red album, the Red Tour. And I watched them with my mom and my dad, Sly and Robbie, Black Uhuru, Michael Rose, and all of them. And so, again, moving on from Drummy Zeb, Sly Dunbar now became the next man that I was looking up to as a drummer. And it was around that time in secondary school I would find out where Sly and Robbie was when they was in the UK. And I would reach around to the studios and watch them making beats and producing and stuff like that. And I was even able to witness and produce the first Billboard reggae song for Maxi Priest, which was Close to You. So I had a lot of insight in how to make music and make beats and stuff like that. And even before that time, I used to go to Island Records as well. And I would go up there sometimes when I should have been at school as well, and looking around and nosing around. And those days, you have a thing called a filer desk where you flip over the thing and you see all the numbers. So I started to take people's number and write them down. And Sly Dunbar was one of those numbers I would take as a man that I respected. So this time now I start to run up my mother's phone bill, ringing to Jamaica, regular. So I wasn't really sure, because as a kid, you're just following, where God is leading you to, and you're not knowing what they're really doing. And then I realized that the mother phone bill I run up, because she said, see my phone bill. So I kind of had to ease off of that a little bit. So it was around a time where 1984, we had to go to Jamaica because my mom's grandma passed away. So we had to go for the funeral and stuff. And it was there that I got to buy the Sly and Robbie album. My mom got me the Sly and Robbie album. We brought it back to the UK as a present for me. And again, I got into the music more and more and more. But eventually, further down the line, my father went to Jamaica and he met Sly at Sonic Sounds. And Sonic Sounds was a distribution company. And Sly said to my father, where's your son? How is your son doing? And my father said, he's in England. So Sly said to him, you should bring him to Jamaica. He's very talented and he knows the music. And you should bring him to Jamaica to get more into the business. So my father called my mom and said, Sly said Paul should be in Jamaica. So within 2 to 3 days, my mom booked me the ticket and sent me to Jamaica. she got me the ticket and sent me to Jamaica, and I got to Jamaica, and I started to go around the studios, now King Jammy's, Bobby Digital, and tell him I'm a kid from London, and I know to make rhythms and stuff. So even King Jammy's, big up King Jammy's and John John. King Jammy said, start linking with John John. So in other words, he's passing me over because he didn't really have the full confidence of me as a kid from London that can make reggae or dancehall. So I did link up with his son John John, and we made a rhythm called the General Rhythm, which was one of the popular rhythms at the time. But even before that, I have to big up Mikey Coos as well at this point, who was also in Jamaica. He got me to build some rhythms at Bob Marley's Tough Gang studio. So you see how life kind of leads you through a certain part. My mother was born in Trenchtown, and here I am now at Bob Marley's studio, making rhythms to Mikey Coos. And Mikey Coos was doing auditions. And one of the kids that walked into that audition was Rodney Price. At that time, he was just bounty hunter. He wasn't bounty killer. And we started to make music, and one of those songs was called Copper Shot. But Mikey Coos now didn't really have the confidence in the rhythm that I had done. So he made Sly and Robbie change it to a rhythm that was similar to Bam Bam, which was the Murder She Wrote rhythm. So it never really hit because Bounty Killer was singing hardcore dancehall, and it was on a more party kind of rhythm. So eventually I ended up at Jammy's studio, and so did Bounty Killer. And I made a general rhythm for King Jammy's son. And they put Bounty Killer on that rhythm also, and Bounty Killer re-recorded Copper Shot, and that put him on the map. So it's from there now, I'm established in getting more established into reggae, more into dancehall, and I just want to say that I give thanks to the journey where I am today, that I could be here to receive an award like this. And at this point, I want to big up President. At this point, I want to big up President, because this time President was at the Vice, as he said. He was at the Ragazine. He had these set in the newspaper, and it was 1997, I think, that Bounty Killer now decided to reach to London for one of his first official tour in the Brixton Academy. And just before Bounty Killer was going to go on stage, the compere of the evening called up my name just before Bounty Killer. Like he would introduce me, say, oh, we have this kid from London, he's, doing his thing, Jazzwad. And when I kind of walked up on the stage, it was kind of lukewarm kind of reception. And then I think it was the following week, Kennedy write up my name in the magazine. And the man that called me on the stage at the time was Daddy Ernie. Daddy Ernie. So President called me and said, oh, I don't really like the way Daddy Ernie called you up, He should have given you a better pick up than that. So I was like, what? But you know what? I'm going to give you a write-up in the magazine. I'm going to boost you. And that's what he did. And he gave the world 20 facts of Jazzwad, from 1 to 20, of all the stuff I had done up until then. Right? So, that's not to take away nothing from Daddy Ernie, because Daddy Ernie is my dad's good friend as well. So, and I used to call Daddy Ernie when he used to play on the radio, and he used to keep competitions and say, who sung this song, who made this beat? And my mom or dad would give me the answer. And I would dial it quickly and ring into Ernie, and Ernie would say, oh, what's the question? And I get the answer all the time. So at one point, he didn't know who I was, but then he found out it was Warren's son. So he said, all right, I'm going to ban you. So you can allow a lot of other people who want to win the prize. So again, Ernie was part of the journey, and here is now President who's going to indirectly put Ernie in his place for not bigging me up. I said, people, this is Jazzwad and rare, and hype him up. But it's all good, Ernie. No hard feelings. So we move on. Yeah, we move on. The story is long, and as the brethren said earlier, sometimes you must document your journey as you go along in life, because sometimes nobody else is going to document it. And God forbid, anything can happen tomorrow that I don't get to tell most of it. So if I'm taking up the time, I'm sorry. But I just want to express the journey with this man who was put on this event that I say most of this to say that here I am now receiving a Grammy certificate for playing reggae and dancehall music as a kid from Mozart Estate, West London, to Jamaica. And then we have this brethren here who is also of Ghanaian parentage. And my grandfather, Mr. Eddie, is from Ghana. And it's like we know in collaboration is doing our part from this side of the world for the reggae and the dancehall industry. So I want to big up Kennedy Mensah right now. Yeah, man, I want to big him up right now for what he's doing. And to everybody, all the artists, all the producers, the main thing as well is to learn the business, because that's something I never really know during my time of reaching to this point. The business, because it's music business, but if you don't know the business, it doesn't really mean nothing. So enough of the time we're saying we're doing this for the love and for the passion and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, we need to feed our family, we need to feed our kids, and we need to support ourselves and those around us that we love. So learn the music business, sign up to all the things you need to sign up to, the CPS and the PRS and the PPL. I want to big up my manager, Hannah, who is here tonight. She's also a part of the PPL as well. And I said I want to big up Joy as well, from the Jetstar family, moving on to the VP family and beyond. I want to big up Lloyd Brown in the house. I used to listen to his music and stuff like that. And growing up, I say that to say big up Judith Jacobs, because we all used to watch No Problem on a Friday. We all used to watch. So here I am in a room with all these great people. And hold on, I have to big up Diane. Raise your hand, Diane, and raise your hand, Caroline. They're from the first female reggae group in the UK called Akabu. The first reggae female group ever in Europe. And they're there right now, and as a little kid as well, I got the opportunity to go in the studio and make some music with them, and Adrian Sherwood as well. Big up Adrian, big up Valerie Vibes. And as I said, look at us here in this room with people that I grew up with, and I respect them and acknowledge them. Big up Shawnee B, who was my brother from Burlington Danes School, near to Wormwood Scrubs Prison. Me and Shawnee B was at the same school. Big up Shawnee B. Big up Shawnee B. Just cool that there's no time on this. Black people time we're upon right now. Black people time. You can go on? Okay. All right, black people time, but at this moment, this is Jazzwad time. I mean, I big up you as my brother from Burlington Days. Here we are collecting Grammy certificates. Big up Dan Chandler. And I want to big up Julian Marley anywhere in the world. He was meant to be a part of my band. My cousin's sister, Sister E, Alicia, she was in my youth group when we was about 9 or 10. Big up my cousin Alicia, she's also like a sister. She was Sister E, she used to DJ. We had our little group when we was 10 years old, that era. And big up the whole family. So it's been a journey, Shawnee B. And if Julian was here tonight, it'd be the trinity of the three of us from UK collecting Grammys from then till now. And here we are in the same room collecting Grammys on behalf of Kennedy Mensah and the Back to the Future family. I want to big up enough respect to everybody that was there. If I didn't call your name, I'm sorry. Enough love, enough respect. Big up on yourself.
I like it. I like it. I like it.